guys, in this month's Disney Rewind, I'm going to be reviewing Secret Invasion. So, before I head into my thoughts and my feelings on Secret Invasion, I guess just a quick disclaimer. I am most likely definitely talking about spoilers in regards to this show. So, if you have yet to watch Secret Invasion, turn away and maybe come back at a later point. Well, let's get going. Secret Invasion, part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but this time starring Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, pretty much the gist of this show. It's Nick Fury kind of dealing with some of the ramifications of his past when it comes to the Skrulls. That he's kind of made some mistakes here and there. I think this season is definitely Nick Fury trying to come to terms with things, to atone for certain things. And yeah, this is definitely the type of show people have been very, very up and down with. Yeah, guys. People either really enjoy it or people just absolutely really hate it. And I'm honestly not even quite sure how I totally feel about this show, because for me personally, I think the very first 2 episodes of the season were incredibly promising, and I really loved the direction the story was going in those first 2 episodes, and I really liked the character interactions, and I really liked the suspense and the drama and the tension, and then those little scatterings of humor in there. I was really digging the first 2 episodes, and then it was kind of after that point that things were kind of just going a little. I was kind of fluctuating with the show, like, okay, I'm kind of loving this, I'm not loving this, I think ultimately what I think a lot of people were expecting with this show, I think a lot of us were expecting this show to be Marvel's version of like a spy mystery thriller sort of thing, a political thriller with spies and espionage, because from the Marvel comics, even though I have not read the comics that this show is based off of, I have heard a lot from fellow, Marvel nerds who have read the comics, that the Secret Invasion arc with the Skrulls is a pretty big deal. And in the comics, it involves all of the major superheroes, and they all get their Skrull counterpart at some point. So yeah, at some point, I think Captain America, he's a Skrull, Iron Man's a Skrull, everybody's a damn Skrull at some point. And so it kind of becomes this whole thing of, well, who can we trust? Who can we rely on? Because we can't even rely on the superheroes that protect us, because they're Skrulls. There's a Skrull impersonating them. So I think a lot of people, me included, because of the hype from other Marvel nerds, the hype was just insane with this show, and I think a lot of people were, like I said, myself included, I think we were over hyping ourselves and maybe turning this show into something more than what it was ever going to really be, I suppose, at the end of the day. Because I did. I certainly walked into this show expecting like a political thriller with spies running around, and it's like we sort of got that to some extent, but not entirely. And I think that's kind of just it with this show. The execution at times fell very flat, unfortunately. It's all in the execution with this show. And I think what is another highly frustrating thing about this show, not only is the tone at times not entirely what I think we were all expecting, but like the episode runtimes. I was very frustrated with the episode runtimes with this show, because once again, like I was saying, I think the very first 2 episodes for me were very promising, because those episodes were pretty much right at an hour a piece. And then from that point on, I think just about every single episode was right under, give or take, 40 minutes. And it's like, why? I feel like the type of story that I was expecting and wanting this show to explore, I think I was expecting this show to have like hour-long episodes, if not sometimes verging a little, maybe a few minutes after an hour, to be quite honest. I would have totally loved for these episodes to be longer, especially if it would have made sense of a lot more things kind of going on in this show. So, yeah, the episode runtimes were definitely a big, huge disappointment. I think this show, I think the 6 episodes could have worked with longer runtimes, because there was just so much to explore in these 6 episodes, so many relationships to establish, and just so much of the political intrigue. And yeah, there's so many characters as well. You know, there's a massive amount of characters for something that's only 6 episodes, and half of them you don't really spend that much time with, and a lot of them I just never really felt a total connection to, unfortunately. So yeah, essentially, this is a show with a very high concept that wasn't executed entirely well at times, and it sadly fizzles near the end. Something that's supposed to be highly exciting by the time we get to the end, I wasn't feeling that excitement at all. I guess the question to ask when it comes to this show, was this show perhaps playing it a bit too safe on occasion? Almost as if the show didn't want to, I don't know, it didn't want to accidentally offend anybody. I don't know exactly, you know. I definitely feel like the show is playing it way too safe. I would have loved for this show to just take some absolute insane risks and chances, even if that might have upset and angered fans, you know. Even if that would have happened, I would have applauded the show for being brilliant with the storytelling, and doing something unique and different that we're not expecting with a Marvel show. Because once again, this whole show, all 6 episodes, it ends with just a massive battle between some superheroes. You know, 2 individuals, Gaia and Gravik, pretty much. 2 overpowered individuals fighting it out, and then that's kind of it at the end of the day, and it's very anticlimactic. I don't know. I think, once again, I was expecting this show to be just a really high-octane political thriller. I didn't need this show to be action-packed in some ways. If there were huge, lengthy sequences of people just sitting at a table talking, you know, I would have loved that. You know, the political intrigue. I mean, it's no coincidence that Emilia Clarke is in this show. You know, she played Daenerys Targaryen on Game of Thrones, and you know, Game of Thrones was very well known for its really lengthy scenes of just people sitting around talking about politics and backstabbing and intrigue and manipulating. You know, that's what this show needed to be, I think, and I think that's what a lot of us were expecting. So, kind of getting that initial thought process out of my brain, I'm just going to kind of run down the rest of my notes here, just some randomness, my very random, quick thoughts about some things, because I honestly don't think I have too much else to really talk about. So, first off, thank God Rhodey and Agent Ross are okay, you guys. Let me start there. The very first episode, we get the big reveal with Martin Freeman, and he turns out to be a Skrull. Thank God Agent Ross was just locked away elsewhere. He didn't really die, thank God. I am very curious how long Agent Ross has been a Skrull. I'm almost assuming it's not been for too terribly long, because I want to believe that in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I want to believe that Agent Ross in Wakanda Forever, that is like the legit Agent Ross, you know. Now, Rhodey, on the other hand, I have all sorts of questions about Rhodey. Yeah, I'm very glad Rhodey is alive and well as well, that there was just a Skrull impersonating him the entire time. But once again, the big question, how long has Rhodey been a Skrull in the MCU, you know? It's kind of hard to figure that out. I'm positive if I hunt down some videos on the internet from, you know, other Marvel nerds, I'm sure there's people breaking down, analyzing, oh, Rhodey's been a Skrull since this movie, you know. So let's just put it this way, I'm just glad Rhodey and Ross, they're okay. It was just Skrulls the whole time, thank God. We definitely got to talk about the big shocking deaths that happened on this show. Dear God. Maria Hill, oh my God. Maria Hill was both shocking but also expected in some ways. Even though even when it happened, I was like, oh my god, Marie Hill just got killed. But at the same time, I was thinking, I'm not surprised, you know. She was definitely kind of number one on the hit list for me if anybody was to die on this show. So yeah, I was very terribly sad to see Maria Hill go. Her death definitely had the biggest impact in some ways, you know, even though she was just in the one episode. The thing is, we have spent way longer with Maria Hill in this franchise. You know, she's been in the franchise since the very first Avengers movie. So yeah, her death definitely had a gut punch. It was emotional. I felt it. I felt like Nick Fury's pain with that. I think that whole sequence in that Russian plaza, I think that whole sequence was very well done and really captivating and gripping and shocking and brutal and whatnot. And yeah, her death being part of that, I think was effective and it worked. Like I said, once again, I think the first two episodes were really well done. And then yeah, the other big death that happens on this show, Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn. No, I was definitely devastated by that one because I think Talos, he was my favorite thing about this entire season, and I'm not exaggerating at all, you guys. He was far and away my favorite thing about this whole damn show, and yet he was taken out by what, episode 4? I think by the end of episode 4. I just love his character. He has this like just own unique sense of humor and seriousness. I love the Talos and Nick Fury relationship because they're two individuals who come from two vastly different worlds, but they make that friendship in relationship, you know, they make it work so wonderfully well, and it's like I believe it. So yeah, I was definitely upset to see Talos go. Seriously, Another big shocker this season, Nick Fury has apparently had a wife this entire damn time. What? And her name's Priscilla, and she's a Skrull. So yeah, I have questions there. How long has Nick Fury been married to her exactly? We know that he definitely was with her sometime around the 90s, you know, after the events of Captain Marvel and whatnot. He's definitely been in some sort of relationship with her since the 90s. But yeah, this just goes to show what a great spy Nick Fury is, and how close he keeps himself together that no one has ever known about this. Probably even Agent Coulson. Agent Coulson probably never had any clue about this. I did enjoy Priscilla as a character. Once again, just some of the biggest issues with this show is the fact that it was only 6 episodes with very limited episode run times with the last 4 episodes, and I think the show is definitely trying to do the best it could with the Nick Fury and Priscilla relationship. The thing is, though, I felt more of a relationship between Talos and Nick Fury. You know, I felt that closer connection and bond with those two dudes than I felt with Nick and Priscilla, because Priscilla was deliberately kind of meant to be this mystery, vague figure in some ways, and she slowly kind of gets unraveled over the course of the season, so it kind of unfortunately left kind of, I think, the viewer feeling a little kind of confused and conflicted with her at times, as you're trying to establish the Nick Fury and Priscilla relationship. But I mean, either way, I did like her character, and it's like I would love to see more with her, if at all possible. And yeah, her Nick Fury going back up to space, it looks like God knows what's going to happen there. Okay, let me move into Emilia Clarke, you guys. As I already established, Emilia Clarke, coming from, you know, Game of Thrones, where she played Daenerys Targaryen, I am a huge fan of Game of Thrones. I loved Emilia Clarke as Daenerys. I was very, very excited when she was first cast that she was going to be on this show. I was like, oh goody, yay! And oh my god, you guys, I honestly did not really like the character of Gaia that much. I'm very conflicted in some ways about her too. I don't know how much of it was just Emilia Clarke's performance and how much of it was like the writing on this show. I honestly don't know, but I honestly just did not like Gaia that much, and I feel like I was never really given much of a reason to fully understand her and her headspace and whatnot. And once again, the same issue I was kind of having with Priscilla. Once again, this show being only 6 episodes and having the very limited episode runtimes with the final 4 episodes, unfortunately, it's like Gaia at times doesn't have very much to do, and sometimes she's not even in the episodes that much. So I feel like with, once again, longer episode runtimes or even a couple more episodes, to really establish Gaia and flesh her out and make her somebody that you can connect and root for. And more than anything, I was really looking forward to seeing Emilia Clarke and Ben Mendelsohn have like a bunch of scenes together, since they're father and daughter on this show. I was really looking forward to that interaction between those two actors, since they're both so good. And there's just 2 or 3 scenes, I think, where Talos and Gaia even interact with one another. And so that was severely lacking. So once Talos does die there at the end, and there's Gaia just, Emilia Clarke kind of showing nothing, and it's like I wanted her to show something, to feel something, I don't know. She was just way too stoic for me, So that just wasn't working for me. I've seen a lot of other reviews floating around that people really praised Emilia Clarke's performance, but unfortunately for me, I gotta unfortunately disagree with that, because her performance unfortunately just was not working entirely for me. There were kind of little bits and pieces in there that were, but at the end of the day, I really wanted a lot more. I was expecting a lot more with her, and her interaction, especially with Talos. Now, somebody who I did really love on this show was Olivia Colman, who was playing Sonia Falsworth. I am a huge fan of Olivia Colman. I could see her in everything. If she wants to read the dictionary to me, please. Olivia Colman is just such an incredible creative actress in every single project that she's in, so I was super excited to see her in this show. And Sonia Falsworth, she doesn't have too terrible much to do on this show, but it's like the scenes that she is in, it's like Olivia Colman knows the show she's in. She's having such an incredibly fun time with it. There's a vibrancy and performance and emotion to her character, which I think was severely lacking with Emilia Clarke, weirdly enough. So I really appreciated Olivia Colman on this show, because she was kind of just this breath of fresh air every single time she popped up. And I loved kind of the back and forth with her character, because I could never quite figure out which side is she totally 100% on, at times. What exactly is her agenda? So I really liked her character, and I'm really hoping we might get more with her in the future. And then moving on to Gravik, played by Kingsley Ben-Adir. I think his performance was very, very good, especially in that final episode, you guys, when he's sitting there talking to who he thinks is Nick Fury, but it's actually Gaia, which, in hindsight, I'm actually a little irritated that was Gaia, because he really needed to have that conversation with Nick Fury, and then when it turns out that it's actually Gaia he's talking to, I feel like the whole conversation then just falls incredibly flat, and it's a shame, because he was delivering such a remarkable performance right there to Samuel L. Jackson. Gravik, he's, kind of this rebel Skrull who's a fanatic and kind of has his own agendas and goals that he wants to establish, and he's very upset and pissed off with Nick Fury, rightfully so, I think. He's radical, he's a radical Skrull. Gravik was very interesting, and once again, with a lot of stuff on the show, I think sometimes just the overall execution with him fell a little bit flat in places. But that wasn't, Kingsley Ben-Adir, a lot of that wasn't really his fault at all. He was doing the very best that he was given with the dialogue and the course of direction with the Gravik character. But I liked his character to a degree, and it was kind of unfortunate, the whole Super Skrull thing there at the end, that the show kind of just reduces down to, a battle between 2 Skrulls. If it would have just been a total just discussion between him and Nick Fury, if that's all it was, and no fight, I think I would have loved that. So then I guess in conclusion, as I wrap up here, the ending of this whole show, I feel like I was kind of left hanging to some extent by the very end, because then, President Ritson, he has that very near-death experience, and Rhodey has betrayed him, who he thinks is Rhodey has betrayed him, and yet all of a sudden President Ritson is like, we're going to kill the Skrulls, I promise the American citizens we're going to kill the Skrulls. He gets just down and dirty all of a sudden, and he's going to turn into a bad guy, So yeah, it's like we're left hanging at the end of this show, you know, how the president feels, how the public most likely feels, you know, about scrolls. So I don't know if this show is going to go on possibly for a second season. Uh, I mean, it would be kind of stupid to leave the show at this point with the scrolls looming and this threat looming and people not being on the side of the scrolls. You know, it is just such a really weird conclusion to the show. Rather than having something that is concluded, it's just so incredibly open-ended, and it kind of just leaves you hanging. And yeah, yeah, it's like I think after the show, a lot of people just don't really care at this point, you know, with the resolution. But it's like we gotta have some sort of resolution, and I guess that's the question: are we going to really get anything that's satisfying? I feel like we're not. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on Secret Invasion. As you can see, I'm very kind of 50-50 with this show. There's certain elements that I did appreciate and enjoy, but I think the overall execution at times kind of fell a little bit flat. A lot of the characters fell flat, but I still, I was very appreciative to get like a show with Nick Fury and seeing Samuel L. Jackson just take charge of the whole show. You know, it was really nice to kind of dig deeper into his show, or dig deeper into his character, because in the movies, you know, he's always just Nick Fury, and we just kind of get this one side of him. So it was really nice to see a more emotional side to Nick Fury for sure. But yeah, I'm definitely curious your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you guys enjoy the show? Did you hate it? Just let me know. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.